Disclaimer: all testimonies shared on this channel are authentic, told by real people who have experienced them. They are shared to inspire faith, encourage repentance, and point souls back to God. Each story is personal and true to the individual who lived it. Do your
I
research.
never thought death would teach me the greatest lesson of my life. The moment my heart stopped, I was pulled into a darkness I cannot describe. But in that terrifying place, God revealed to me shocking secrets about single mothers in hell, truths that I had never heard preached before, and what I saw broke me to tears. Today, I must share them with you, because someone watching right now may need this warning before it's too late. The first secret God showed me shook me deeply. But before I go into all that, let me tell you who I am and why this testimony is so personal for me. My name is Elizabeth Jackson, and I am a woman who has walked through pain, betrayal, and rejection. I was once a wife, and later a single mother, carrying the shame, loneliness, and struggles that many women know all too well. I prayed, I wept, and I fought through life, sometimes with faith and sometimes in bitterness. But nothing prepared me for the day I left this world. When my soul slipped out of my body, I was taken into a realm I never imagined, and there God opened my eyes. When I slipped out of my body, I felt as though I was being pulled downward, faster than I could breathe, faster than I could scream. The weight of my life seemed to press upon me, and suddenly the darkness gave way to a place of fire, torment, and endless cries. It was not a dream. It was not a story. It was more real than the air I once breathed. Hell. The stench of burning flesh filled the air, and the sound, oh, the sound, was like thousands of people crying, wailing, gnashing their teeth all at once. But what broke me the most was not just the flames or the demons I saw, but the faces of women, women like me, mothers. Some looked strong once, some looked fragile, some bore the weary look of years of pain. And yet, here they were, bound in torment. I trembled and cried out, "Lord, why are so many mothers here?" And then he spoke. His voice was not harsh, but firm, like a fire that burns and cleanses at the same time. He said, "They are not here because they were single mothers. They are here because of the choices they made in their pain." At that moment, a light shone, and my eyes were drawn to one woman in particular. She was on her knees, chained, and around her neck hung a heavy iron weight that dragged her down into the flames. Every time she tried to lift her head, the weight pulled her deeper into the fire. She screamed, not just from pain, but from regret. I could see her life play out before me as though on a screen. She had been abandoned by her husband. She cried for help, but instead of running to God, she ran to bitterness. Her anger became her master. She raised her child with a hardened heart, often cursing the man who had left her. In her sorrow, she filled her nights with secret sins to numb her pain. Relationships outside marriage, hatred, and words of poison spoken against God Himself. And the Lord whispered, her condemnation did not come from being abandoned. It came from choosing bitterness over forgiveness, sin over surrender. She let her pain become her God. I fell to my knees and wept because I saw myself in her. I too had carried bitterness when I was left alone. I too had asked, "Why me?" I too had wondered if God truly cared. And yet, here I was, being shown what happens when pain becomes an excuse to turn away from God. Another woman appeared in my sight. She was running, but not on ground, on burning coals. Her feet were bleeding, but she kept running in circles, never finding rest. She cried, "I did it all for my children. I sacrificed for them. Why am I here?" And the Lord answered her, "You gave them food, but not faith. You gave them shelter, but not my word. You filled their lives with everything but me. And in the end, both you and they were lost. I screamed. I could not bear it. These were not evil women in the eyes of the world. They were mothers who once loved deeply, who carried heavy burdens. But here, love without God, effort without surrender, meant nothing. The fire intensified, and I felt the heat on my own soul. A demon came near, mocking one of the women, whispering in her ear, "You were too tired to pray, weren't you? Too broken to forgive, too busy surviving to teach your child about God. Now you see what your silence has cost." And with each word, the flames grew hotter around her. I cried out again, "Lord, is there no mercy here?" And his voice answered, "Mercy was given while they lived. Mercy was extended every day." I called, I knocked, I pleaded, but they hardened their hearts. Do you not remember my word? Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. They heard, but chose another path. The first secret was clear to me now. Hell was filled not with women who were condemned simply because they were single mothers, but with those who, in their pain, chose paths that led them away from God. Some chose bitterness, some chose unforgiveness, some chose secret sins to comfort their wounds, and some simply neglected their souls while trying to survive. And as I looked closer, I realized something else. Pain itself was like a chain in hell. The sorrows they never surrendered to God became their torment. The bitterness they held on to became their fire. The lies they believed became their prison. I fell on my face and cried, "Lord, what about those who are still alive? What hope do they have?" And he said, "Tell them that I am near to the brokenhearted. Tell them that their pain can be their altar or their chain. Tell them that every choice matters, even in the shadows of despair. I do not condemn the weary mother who comes to me. I embrace her. But those who reject me, who feed their pain with sin and anger, will find that pain consuming them forever." At that moment, I wept not just for them, but for every single mother still alive. Struggling, tired, and broken, I wanted to reach out through the fire and tell them, "Don't let your pain destroy you. Don't let it drive you from God. Let it drive you to Him." But the cries of the women drowned out my voice. I could still hear them calling for help, calling for mercy, and yet there was none. That was the first secret, a terrifying truth. It is not the pain of being a single mother that condemns. It is the choices made in that pain. Choices of bitterness, unforgiveness, and sin that push God away. And as I stood trembling, I knew the Lord was about to reveal the second secret, one even more frightening than the first. As I stood trembling in that place of torment, I felt the ground shake beneath me. The cries grew louder, and suddenly my eyes were opened to another chamber in hell. I was drawn to it as if an unseen hand was guiding me. When the smoke cleared, I saw a sight that made my heart shatter. Rows upon rows of women, single mothers, bound in heavy chains. These chains were not made of iron or steel, but of something darker, spiritual, almost alive. They glowed with a strange fire that seemed to burn from within. I asked, "Lord, what are these chains?" And he said, "These are the chains of unforgiveness. They are heavier than any demon, and they drag many souls into eternal torment." As I looked closer, I recognized their faces. Women who had once been strong, who had endured betrayal, rejection, and abandonment. Their husbands had walked away, their families had scorned them, and society had mocked them. Some had raised children all alone, working endlessly, hoping someone would see their pain. But here in hell, they were not carrying the weight of their hardships. They were carrying the weight of unforgiveness. I saw one woman sitting in the fire, clutching a large black chain across her chest. Her face was twisted with rage. Even in torment, she shouted over and over, "I will never forgive him! I will never forgive him!" And with every word, the chain around her grew tighter, burning deeper into her flesh. I cried out, "Lord, why is she still angry here? Doesn't she see where she is?" And he answered, "Unforgiveness is not just an emotion. It is a spirit that binds the soul. She fed it in life until it became her master, and even now, in death, it consumes her." I wept because I knew the pain of betrayal. I knew what it was like to be left alone, carrying children while the one who made promises of love walked away without looking back. I knew how bitterness could creep in like poison, whispering, "You deserve to hate them. You deserve revenge." And I saw now how many women believed that lie until it dragged them into eternal fire. Suddenly, another vision appeared. I saw a woman who had been a faithful churchgoer. She prayed, she sang hymns, she attended every service. Yet here she was, bound in the same burning chains. "Why is she here, Lord?" I asked. The Lord's voice came like thunder and sorrow together. She sang to me with her lips, but her heart was far away. She never forgave the man who abandoned her. She never forgave the family who mocked her. She never forgave herself. And so she carried her chains to the grave. The woman screamed, "I went to church. I prayed." But the chains clanged and tightened around her. And I realized something horrifying. Hell is not only for those who openly reject God, but also for those who worship Him outwardly while secretly holding on to unforgiveness. As I watched, the demons began to mock them. They whispered, "Remember how he hurt you? Remember how they laughed at you? Remember the shame? Hold on to it. Never let it go." And with each whisper, the women clutched their chains tighter, screaming louder. The torment was endless. One demon approached a woman and hissed, "Your unforgiveness gave me the right to drag you here. You thought you were punishing him, but in truth, you punished yourself." The woman shrieked, but it was too late. The chains had become her eternal prison. I turned my face away and cried, "Lord, is there no hope for the living? How can they escape these chains?" And the Lord said, "Forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a choice. I gave them my word. I gave them my spirit. I gave them my Son who forgave even from the cross." But many refused. They clung to bitterness as if it were strength, not knowing it was their destruction. His words pierced my soul. I remembered the times I held grudges, the times I said, "I'll forgive, but I'll never forget." I realized those were seeds of the same chains. The Lord continued, "Tell them, tell every mother, every broken woman, that their pain is real, but their bitterness does not have to be. I do not condemn them for being hurt, but I call them to release their hurt into my hands. For as long as they hold on, they are binding themselves for eternity." Suddenly, I saw a powerful vision of contrast. On one side, these women chained in hell, burning, screaming, clutching their unforgiveness. On the other side, I saw single mothers in heaven, clothed in white, weeping, but these were tears of joy. They had also been abandoned, mocked, betrayed, but they had chosen to forgive. And now they stood free, embraced by the arms of Christ Himself. The difference was one choice, to forgive or not to forgive. I returned my gaze to the torment before me. The cries of the chained women echoed in my ears. Some were crying for their children. "Why did you leave me alone? Why did you betray me? Why?" Others cried at themselves, "I wasted my life hating him. I wasted my soul clinging to anger." And then I saw something I will never forget. One woman's child, now grown, appeared in a vision before her. He was also in chains in hell, and she screamed, my son, why are you here?" The Lord answered her with grief in his voice. "Because you never showed him forgiveness, he never learned it. He followed your footsteps into the same prison." That moment broke me completely. The curse of unforgiveness was not only binding them, but also passing on to their children. The Lord spoke again. "Tell them this secret. Unforgiveness is a chain heavier than hell itself. It poisons generations. It destroys homes. It silences prayers. And in the end, it drags souls away from my mercy. But if they choose to forgive, my power will set them free. For whom the Son sets free is free indeed." I fell to my knees, weeping uncontrollably. My heart was screaming, "Please, please forgive while you are still alive. Don't carry those chains into eternity. Don't let anger steal your soul." But the women around me could no longer hear. Their cries were swallowed by fire. Their chains clanged endlessly in the flames. And I knew then this was the second secret God wanted me to share. Unforgiveness is a chain stronger than any demon. Many single mothers in hell were not condemned for their suffering, but because they never released those who hurt them, they clung to their wounds instead of clinging to Christ, and that choice became their eternal prison. As I rose trembling, the Lord's voice said softly, "There is still one more secret you must see." And I was led deeper into the darkness. The fire roared louder as I was pulled deeper into that place of torment. The cries around me were unbearable, shrieks of regret, wails of sorrow, and the heavy silence of hopelessness. My soul trembled. I wanted to turn away, but the unseen hand of the Lord kept leading me onward. We came to another chamber. The atmosphere here was different, not only filled with screams, but with a sound that broke my heart more than any other, the cries of children. I gasped, "Lord, why do I hear children here?" And he replied, "Because what is neglected in life does not disappear. Seeds that are not planted in me grow into thorns that choke generations." These mothers neglected the spiritual nurture of themselves and their children, and now the consequences are eternal. Before me, I saw mothers reaching out in anguish toward visions of their children. Flames licked at their feet, chains bound their hands, and their eyes were filled with endless regret. One woman was screaming, "I worked 2 jobs. I fed them. I clothed them. I gave them everything they wanted. Why are we here?" And the Lord's voice, sorrowful yet just, replied, "You gave them bread for their bodies, but none for their souls. You filled their bellies, but left their spirits starving. You taught them to chase after success, but you did not lead them to me. When they asked about faith, you were too tired, too busy, too distracted, and so both you and they were lost." The woman's cries pierced my heart. She was not evil by the world's standards. She had worked herself to exhaustion to provide for her children, but in doing so, she neglected the one thing that mattered most, their eternal souls. I looked around and saw countless others in the same torment. Some had turned to alcohol or relationships to ease their loneliness, leaving their children to grow up without guidance. Others had been so consumed with bitterness and survival that they forgot to pray with their children, forgot to open the Word of God, forgot to tell them that Christ was their true hope. And I realized something terrifying. Hell was filled not only with women, but also with their children, because silence at home became destruction in eternity. I began to sob uncontrollably. Lord, how could they not see this? How could they not realize what was at stake? And he answered, "The enemy blinded them." He whispered that survival was enough. He told them that church could wait, that prayer was unnecessary, that their children would find their own way. He distracted them with burdens, convincing them that their efforts in the physical were more important than their faith in the spiritual. But in the end, what good is bread that feeds the body for a day if the soul is lost forever? His words thundered through me. I thought of all the times I, too, had been too weary to pray, too overwhelmed to open the Bible, too consumed with my struggles to nurture my child in faith. I thought of how easy it had been to say, "Tomorrow I'll pray with them. Tomorrow I'll teach them." But tomorrow had never come for these mothers in hell. Suddenly, I saw a horrifying vision. A woman stood in flames, surrounded by shadows. The shadows began to form into the shapes of her children. They screamed at her, "Why didn't you tell us about him? Why didn't you pray with us? Why didn't you teach us the truth?" She fell to the ground, wailing, "I was tired. I was broken. I thought you'd understand." But her excuses turned to ashes in the fire. The Lord said to me, "Every child is a soul entrusted to a mother." Some of these women thought providing for the flesh was enough. They never realized their silence was a weapon in the enemy's hand. For if a child does not hear of me in the home, the world will teach them something else, and often that path leads here. I fell on my face, sobbing. The pain of these women was too much for me to bear. Their regret echoed like thunder. I should have prayed with them. I should have forgiven. I should have trusted God instead of myself. Then the Lord lifted my head and showed me a contrast. On one side, the burning mothers in hell, forever tormented for their neglect. On the other side, a vision of mothers in heaven, surrounded by their children clothed in white. These women had also struggled. They had also wept, also felt weary, but even in their pain, they had knelt in prayer with their children. Even when abandoned, they opened the Word of God at night. Even when poor, they gave their children faith richer than gold. The difference was not perfection, it was priority. One group prioritized survival over God. The other prioritized God even in their survival. And the Lord said, "Tell them this secret. Neglect of spiritual nurture is a curse that drags generations to destruction." Many mothers believe their sacrifices are enough, but without me, all their effort is in vain. I do not ask them to be perfect, but I ask them to bring their children to me. I am the bread of life. I am the living water. Without me, they can do nothing. At that moment, my heart broke in two. I felt the grief of every mother in torment. I wanted to scream into the flames. It's not too late for those still alive. Pray with your children. Teach them about Jesus. Don't let silence condemn you. But no sound came from my mouth. The women in hell could not hear me. Their chance was gone. The cries of children echoed in my ears one last time, and then the Lord's presence drew me away. His voice whispered gently but firmly, "You have seen the third secret. Now go and tell them. Tell every single mother that their pain does not condemn them, but their choices in pain do. Tell them that unforgiveness is a chain that binds their soul. Tell them that neglect of spiritual nurture endangers not only their eternity, but their children's as well. And tell them that I am merciful, that as long as they live, they still have time to choose me." And with that, the vision ended. I woke up gasping, alive again, but never the same. My friend, you have heard the secrets God revealed to me. Hell is real, eternity is real, and every choice we make matters. If you are a mother, whether single or not, don't let pain, unforgiveness, or neglect drag your soul away from God. Run to Him while there is still time. His arms are open, His mercy is waiting, and His forgiveness is free. I return to share this so you can be warned, so you can be saved. Choose life today. Tomorrow may be too late.